I once asked my students what they would do if they could spend an afternoon on a boat. I would have a good time with my friends. I would chat with them, maybe gossip, maybe serious stuff. I would enjoy the enchantment of the open sea. These were some of the answers I got, and quite honestly, they were not too different from the ones which a 20-year-old poet of the late 14th century enshrined in a sonnet, now one of the most beautiful naval writings of Italian literature. Guido, io vorrei che tu e Lapo ed io fossimo presi per incantamento e messi in un vasel, che ad ogni vento per mare andasse al voler vostro e mio, sì che fortuna o d'altro tempo rio non ci potesse dare impedimento, anzi, vivendo sempre in un talento, di stare insieme crescesse il disio. E Monna Vanna e Monna Lagia poi, con quella che è sul numero delle 30, con noi ponesse il buon incantatore, e quivi ragionare sempre d'amore, e ciascuna di lor fosse contenta, sì com'io credo che saremmo noi. After his youth in the narrow and shadowy streets of Florence, Dante saw in the sea a space of freedom, imagination, and happiness. In his sonnet dedicated to his fellow poet Guido Cavalcanti, a boat trip with a common friend Lapo and the company of 30 girls becomes the occasion not only to spend meaningful time with each other as they are carried on the sea, but also to grow in a single wish and partake in the never-ending joy of being together. The youthful enchantment of beauty, friendship, and endless storytelling would later find mature expression in the Divine Comedy as a quest for the divine in the great sea of being, lo gran mar dell'essere, and at the same time as a secret longing to return home, as expressed in the nostalgia of the sailors at sunset in the opening of Purgatorio 8. Era già l'ora che volge il disio ai naviganti e intenerisce il core. L'udii ch'han detto ai dolci amici addio. 'Twas now the hour that turneth back desire in those who sail the sea, and melts the heart the day they've said to their sweet friends farewell. While sailing for Dante is a metaphor for poetic audacity, as the little boat of his ingenium ventures into the vast sea of knowledge, at the same time it also represents a very specific craft. In Inferno 21, Dante actually compares the tireless activity of devils to the relentless labor of shipbuilders in the Venetian arsenal, as one makes a vessel new, one caulks the ribs of a boat that has made many a voyage, one hammers at the prow, one at the stern, and another mends the mainsail. Dante's description of the shipyard is not just an homage to the grandeur of Venice and the other 14th century sea republics, but also a lively testimony of the Italian tradition of excellence in shipbuilding, a tradition of distinction which continues from past centuries to our present, as Italy produces 40% of the world's super yachts. Through Dante's eyes, then, we can see that a boat is not just an enchanted vessel, where an abundance of life takes form as wealth and enjoyment, but also a technical marvel of artisanship, craftily designed and improved from generation to generation. This performative synthesis of elegance and power, aesthetics and functionality, epic and execution is still the recipe for Italian success in the nautical industry today, as majestically exemplified in the work of Carlo Riva, Italy's greatest boatman and shipbuilder of the 20th century. Carlo Riva's boats are masterpieces of savoir-faire and savoir-vivre, know-how and know-how to live. The joy of a well-crafted vessel matches the endless enchantment of being at sea. The design of comfortable solutions is intimately united to the pleasure of sailing, whether toward home, as in the archetype of Ulysses, or toward the unknown in writing ever-new stories. Perfection in manufacture and seamless navigation are the counterparts of an invaluable human wealth, which Riva himself describes in these words.
Siamo riusciti a attraccare la barca dopo una traversata abbastanza burrascosa e uno si sente felice, sei l'uomo più felice del mondo. Alla sera vedi un cielo con miliardi di stelle, anche se non hai un euro in tasca, ti senti miliardario.
The true happiness of the boatman and the fullness of life of the sailor lie then in the satisfaction of a wonderful ride. The beauty of doing and the beauty of living finds expression in these simple words of Riva at the end of his life.
Per molti anni felici a bordo delle mie barche ho visto albe e tramonti, ricordo tutto. Oggi, con nostalgia, rivivo la mia galoppata e bella vita di barcaiolo.
Now, Carlo Riva was not born on the sea, but he was part of a family of boatmen. His great-grandfather Pietro Riva had founded the family business in 1842 in Sarnico, Lombardy, on the shores of Lake Iseo. After a storm devastated the local fishing fleet, he did not succumb to resignation, and taking destiny into his own hands, he opened a yard and restored all the vessels, earning the local people's respect. Building on his reputation, his son Ernesto would start to power boats with internal combustion engines at the end of the 19th century. After World War I, his son Serafino would shift production from transport vessels to motorboats, pioneeringly investing in racing yachts and winning countless competitions in the 1920s and 1930s. When the brand reached its fourth generation in the years of the Dolce Vita, Serafino's son Carlo would become the visionary architect of the company's global success, as he reconfigured yachts into design icons, seducing celebrities, and shaped boating into the status symbol of a new lifestyle. Riva was born in 1922, the same year when Marinetti's wife, Benedetta Kappa, painted her famous motorboat Speed, featuring a futuristic yacht powerfully parting the sea. As in Kappa's painting, Carlo's life would play out in a similar dynamism of art and modernity, as he would successfully combine in his boats a century-long woodcraft and American engine technology. Riva grew up surrounded by boats, as a spectator of the company's racing victories, as an impatient apprentice in his father's business, and as a gifted engineer who would test his skills in the late 1930s by designing 6 motorboats for the Italian colonial government in East Africa. He would join the shipyard in 1949, but to distance himself from both the ravages of war and his father's transport or racing vessels, he began to build boats his own way, as pleasure yachts. In 1952, he traveled to the United States and saw the famous Chris-Craft boats in Florida. It was there that he dreamed of transforming his wooden vessels into power boats, investing in both Chris-Craft engines and innovative marine plywood, which could yield quality, durability, and safety. In 1954, Carlo reorganized the production line, opening a new shipyard in Sarnico and refashioning boats from transport to luxury vehicles. In collaboration with the architect and designer Giorgio Barilani, who joined the company in 1956, Riva reconfigured his brand into a status symbol and his yachts into objects of desire for royalty, sheikhs, and celebrities. Disregarding the market and anticipating demand, the shipbuilder created the fastest and most elegant wood boats of the age. Not the most comfortable, but the purest. That is, those endowed with a superior enjoyment thanks to their fine materials, craftsmanship, and meticulous attention to detail, and at the same time, those capable of becoming timeless nautical masterpieces thanks to the glamour of their owners, stars like Sophia Loren, Brigitte Bardot, Liz Taylor, or Sean Connery. His first boat, conceived as a luxury sea car, was the Ariston. Then came the Tritone, the first boat with twin Chris-Craft engines, the Sabino, which ushered in standard production, and the Florida, whose name is a tribute to the magic of Riva's first trip to the United States. The most legendary Riva motorboat, however, was the Aquarama, released in 1962 and produced in different versions until 1996. This instant classic, all in mahogany and able to reach 45-50 knots, is now considered the Ferrari of boats, a brand within a brand, or simply the most iconic yacht ever. The Aquarama was born at the explicit request of customers who wanted a more practical Tritone, and its name came from the curved widescreen Cinerama which the hull's wraparound windshield imitated. While Gianni Agnelli's boat trips near the Amalfi Coast certainly contributed to the nautical legend of Aquarama in the early 1960s, the project which really launched its epic was the 1968 collaboration with Ferruccio Lamborghini, as Riva tailored for him a unique model powered by Lamborghini engines. The Hull 278 became the sea equivalent of the Lamborghini Miura and is still today the fastest Aquarama ever produced. This collaboration, which followed similar partnerships between Riva and American engine producers like Chris Craft or Chrysler, ratified the association between boats and luxury cars. In the same golden age of Ferrari and Lamborghini in the 1950s and 1960s, Riva in fact similarly created yachts as glamorous objects of speed and elegance, and constructed their status by printing glossy catalogs with photographer Federico Padellani in 1956, by creating Riva Boat Services for exclusive technical assistance in 1957, and by exhibiting boats in showrooms across the world, making a name for himself at the 1959 Miami Boat Show and at Rockefeller Center in Manhattan in 1964. While continuing to produce wooden runabouts until 1996, when the last Aquarama Special number 784 was built, Carlo Riva also started to produce fiberglass boats in 1969, designing in the subsequent years the fiberglass models by Yamaha 20 and the Sport Fisherman. Disillusioned by the climate of industrial unrest in the late 1960s, he would sell the yard to the U.S. Whitaker. He would remain the brand's chairman and general manager until 1971 and would later be part of the project of Monte Carlo Offshorer. After stepping down from his role, he pioneered the project to reconfigure the Ligurian Gulf of Tigullio into the good lounge of the yachting industry, creating the international tourist port of Rapallo in 1975 on the example of Cannes. The Ligurian port of Rapallo, which is still named after him, offers a secure first-class structure capable of 500 moorings and equipped with every comfort from workshops to restaurant, bars, and a shopping center. Riva's influence on the yachting industry would be recognized in 2005 when, at the end of his life, Prince Albert of Monaco awarded him the title of Personnalité de la Mer, personality of the sea. Riva's works are now collected by the Riva Historical Society, established in Sarnico in 1998 to preserve the brand's heritage, and his company, after a succession of owners, is now part of the Ferretti Group. The story of Carlo Riva encapsulates the Italian dream of the economic miracle, the boldness to assert oneself after the tragedy of war, the strategy of elegance as a difference creator, the glamour of objects as non-arrogant embodiments of cultural and industrial wealth, and the drive to always reinvent tradition in a dynamic key. Like his personality, or like a great poem that lasts over the centuries, a Riva boat is not simply an accomplished symphony of power and elegance, but really a living legacy, a moving story, most of which is yet to be written, and above all, an epic impresa. Thank you very much for watching. If you like this video, I invite you to subscribe to this YouTube channel or to the newsletter on the webpage www.italianinnovators.com to receive notifications of new episodes. You can also follow me on my LinkedIn profile or on Instagram at Italian Innovators for additional materials about the show. Thanks again, arrivederci e alla prossima.